Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? This is Jeremiah, and we have a special webinar for you today. This is the last webinar of the year. Can you believe that? Wow. And let's see. Well, when we were looking at our list of webinars and everything, and as you can imagine, we're like, well, what should we do for the last webinar of the year? And we're like, well, something easy, right? And now I'm so glad we did that because my fingers are cold. I know Jake was just talking; his fingers are freezing too. Oh my gosh, we want to be Christmas shopping and sitting by the fireplace and sipping cocoa, right? We no one wants to be here right now. But anyway, but this is still going to be a really good little webinar for you because we're going to just basically recap all the cool stuff we did this year. It's still definitely a very valuable webinar, but not real heavy requirement on mental abilities. We're not going through a very difficult concept and we have to follow along and learn something. We're just showing you all the cool stuff we did this year, and so I hope you will appreciate that. We have been hard at work this year. And anyway, I have a couple just really quick housekeeping items. We are recording this, so of course it'll be on the website if you want to show anyone else, hey, did you see all the cool stuff they did this year? Yeah, it'll be there. And we are here though live, so there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to click that anytime, even right now, because you'll notice in addition to being able to quickly type us a question, you'll be able to see the answers that we type to other people's questions. So just kind of a cool little interaction. You've got us right here. We're the ones, running the show and everything. We know everything. So any little question pops into your mind, please feel free to go ahead and punch that in. We really like that interaction with you guys. So that is enough of my yammer yammer. I'm literally sitting on my fingers because they're freezing. How are you doing, Jake? Are you ready for this?
I am so ready, but I will not be able to sit on my fingers. So we'll see how I do.
All right, good luck.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you again. My name is Jake. I will be touring you through this fun little webinar today. I am very hopeful that we have a lot of interaction today. We have some nice smattering of people here, from trial users to existing to new. So if there's anything specific you guys want to, relay to us, whether it's even future wish list items, this is the time to do that. This is a recap of what we've done. And then we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on not only the stuff that you're going to see today, but things that you're kind of like, oh, you know what, I haven't been able to reach them, or I haven't had time to reach out to them yet. And maybe we can just bounce around a few ideas too. This is great time to do that. So the agenda is, albeit only 3 items, it is going to cover quite a few different topics. So the first little bit is just going to be a little fun slideshow of different things that we've kind of accomplished throughout the year. Then we'll jump right into a few of the features that are going to be directly related in CAD, and then we'll have time for questions and comments and suggestions and anything like that. So we're going to just get going here. So those who are coming on board and haven't really had time to dive in too much, this might be a little bit new or underwhelming, but those who have had time to browse through our documentation know that we do our darndest to document anything and everything. So from documentation pages specifically about how the software works to the knowledge base articles, or we call them KBs, on how to address certain issues or solutions on issues that you might be having, stuff like that. We've done a lot of updating and creating of new documentation pages and knowledge base articles. So props to our documentation writer, Jason. He does a great job of all of that. videos, you guys are in one of them right now. So this is an accumulation of not only the webinars, but the power tips that we do. So just as a recap, the webinar side of things, we had a few guest webinars, manufacturers participating, and then of course us hosting the majority of them. But again, truly a strong feat. Those who have had to produce a video in their whole lifetime know the laborious task that it is, but I think the fruits of our efforts is well shown. So a lot of videos to go watch. I'm going to step down memory lane a little bit and say the first time those of you who are watching that are advanced users and users of the software for a long time know that obviously there weren't as many videos. I think I learned land effects on one video. And so to see hundreds and hundreds of videos and to be able to produce this many in a single year is awesome. Now, we pride ourselves on being a family here at Land Effects, and we have fun and we work, but we also have some new people that came on board with us. We got Sarah, who's a part of our sales team. We have some future usage team people here. Amanda, Marin's kids, and then we have Tyler that has joined us with our tech support team. So if those new names are new to you, they joined us this year. And we cannot leave out our furry little family members. These guys are, I think, our most close working companions these days, working from home and whatnot. So being at home, I think we adopted quite a few more. Megan, a few more than all of the rest of us. I think she's close to the 50 mark on the animal side of things. So, you know, if you guys need to come over to California and have a petting zoo time, I think she can host most of that. And then we got a couple more here. And obviously last the best is Zero. He's very cool, creepy, but cool. Tech support. Again, we pride ourselves on, you know, doing our darndest to take care of you guys as fast and most efficient as possible. And we average about 30 tickets a day. And, you know, we try and supplement all of those things with that documentation page stuff and what we offer on the website. But we crank through quite a few, and hopefully you guys can chime in on whether or not we do a good job. I think we do a good job, but yeah, that's our tech support side of things. Trade shows. This is what it looked like this year. It was not obviously eventful from a trade show year, but a lot of stuff gearing up for next year. So we're going to try to hit it hard come next trade show season, but you can see we're still working hard.
I like how you got the cat in the photo too. That was pretty
yeah,
awesome.
you saw that. That was not
Yeah.
planned. That he just sort of
He's
snuck in there.
He's like, Daddy, why are you over here?
You're not in your normal chair position. Yeah, no, he's a curious guy. New clients, and I don't know, Jared, if you want to speak to this one a little bit more, but you know, we've got a current year-end sale going on, and it's been able to bring on quite a few new clients, and we appreciate you guys and love and welcome you on board. But yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say about this one, Jared?
Oh, just yeah, and actually, what's funny, of course, already like I was like, oh, I should probably update that number because it's already like 272 or something, you know.
Very cool.
So
So counting through the, I guess I should have put a plus there. Oh, I did say and counting. So you know,
literally counting.
Very cool. So welcome all you new users.
Which is good. Yeah, I mean, compared to other years, it's we're doing great. It's one of our top years, so we're moving right along. And yeah, that sale is going now. So if you haven't bought yet, this is definitely the price to buy at.
Sweet. Content. I fall on the content side quite a bit, and can tell you that there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Some of the features that I'll show you today, whether or not you are an irrigation designer or use the irrigation effects side of things, it might look underwhelming, but I can say without a doubt that was a very, very hard project and a lot of blocks to go through, for what I'll show you later. But from a
I thought
plan
the
view,
number wasn't the number way higher than that.
it is. That's the plus.
You
I
know,
lost count based on all of the different renditions of
yeah, because well,
different
just the
things.
cleanup problem. I mean, we cleaned up like thousands of irrigation blocks. So
Yeah,
even not
that's.
really counting, you're only counting the major changes,
I
right?
was doing the major changes. There's so many more underlying things that had to be adjusted and modified and up to our current standards. So if you've seen slight changes on layer colors and texts and that kind of stuff, that's the kind of stuff that we did a massive overhaul on as we introduced some of these new tools. But from a plan view and elevation view and just all of those discipline graphic kind of blocks that are there generic wise, a lot of new stuff, and stuff based on your guys' requests. So again, things that might be missing out of the system like this is where I want you guys to chime in and say it would be awesome to see this kind of stuff, because that's what we're trying to build the system out to include. Manufacturers, again, quite a few, just updating existing stuff and just making sure that we're working well with our manufacturer partners. But we're onboarding several new ones as well, which is great. You know, people are requesting a lot of different manufacturers that we haven't even heard of. So it's good to see that, you know, manufacturers are still rolling in there. So, and development features. Development features is basically all of the stuff that you're going to see today. And Jer's hand is heavily played in all of these features here, in addition to, you know, the content team mocking things up, your guys' requests, the beta trialing of it, and testing these out for actual rollout. So if those of you who are watching this now or in the future watched Jeremiah's webinar, we did an open house and showed some of the features of some of these little tools here, like the irrigation schedule, the site color redos, and even the ref note callout, stadium callout that just got released. Those are the kind of things that he kind of showed behind the scenes on. I'm going to show you just how they are functioning. So as far as additional things that we've done, you know, we release that version update history list every week that we post an update, and you're welcome to just scroll through there and just see all of the different things. Of course, there's hot fixes and bug fixes and stuff like that on specific items, but more importantly, what we're going to focus on is all of the different things that actually made it into the software. So we are going to obviously focus on more of the more notable items. Here in red, we'll kind of try and hit all of these kind of things live, but you can see that there's quite a few other things that just behind the scenes are happening, or that you might not realize is a new feature that we made it more prominent. So there's that. If you start to see some of the stuff that I'm showing and buttons are not the way that they are, that you see on my screen, that they're not that way on yours, definitely remember that we do improve that ribbon every year as well. And whether it is a shift in a button in the location or it's a new button specifically, running that workstation installer is going to give you that latest and greatest ribbon experience. So keep that in mind as we kind of go through there. So we have basically 45 minutes that we're going to run through some stuff. As I go through this, definitely use that Q&A so that we can get those answered, and we'll kind of just go from there. Is there anything that we need to address before I get going, Jer?
There we go. Yeah, where's my mute button? Haven't addressed that. I lost my mute button.
That's not new in 2021.
Mark just chimed in with a wish list request, and I was busy typing a reply to him.
Oh,
But about control wires, being able to draw control wires, and I was just
yes.
telling him how absolutely, and we have, in the meantime, you could do that as a ref note
Yep.
length, but we're going to basically just fold that in to the irrigation schedule. So that'll be exciting, or to the irrigation manager as well.
Yeah,
But yeah,
there's a few already pending wish list items for that, Mark. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, no, so yeah, that's gonna be, but yeah, excellent, and yeah, keep those coming, definitely. We always want those wish list requests, and like that webinar I did last week, just showing, even like, it's just going over the recorded version of that, and just, made it even more clear of just why it's so important to take these wish list requests and implement them, because we end up, it does improve the software, because it kind of forces us to take a look at this one particular area of the software and go, oh, well, it needs this. And then you end up with something better. It's just, how is a diamond made? By pressure. You need that outside pressure. And I just cannot fathom someone running a software company and not accepting wish list requests. So we really, really, really want those wish list requests.
Yep. And I believe you just referred to us as a diamond.
Well, no,
We are
it's the
sparkly
it's
and
the
shiny.
the attempt to, the attempt to treat the product as if it is a potentially very valuable gem. So that,
Yeah, no, we're good. I love it. I love the analogy. So we're going to start very basic. We're going to start in the generic stuff. To be able to, start a plan off. Maybe this is even an existing plan that you were given. It really doesn't matter, but we're going to work with generic blocks no matter what. We consider these generic blocks as in there's no data tied to them. So it's just standard CAD practices, standard workflows. But we all know AutoCAD tools and how to kind of use those. But those who use land effects know that a lot of the features, whether it's in the planting manager or in the irrigation stuff, there's a lot of quicker tools to utilize and do things properly here. So we've kind of integrated to work with generic stuff, our match object tool. So we can go ahead and click this guy, and we can click a hatch that might be there. And what's nice about that is it just automatically picked it up to say, all right, pick it into an interior point or a polyline to hatch an additional area. And it will pick that hatch directly up automatically. So I can grab those and continue placing a specific one without having to go to the hatch manager or run the hatch command and try to pick the right hatch and stuff like that. If it's already existing, I can go ahead and pick it up and start placing it right off the bat. Same thing goes with any kind of generic block. I can grab him, I can place him into the design, and I can even utilize this with our already existing functions with, copy along line or copy along polyline, that kind of stuff. All of that now functions perfectly with the generic stuff. So we can just pick those little guys up and keep going with different things like that. Same thing goes with our site block stuff. I can grab another bench. I can place him in, position him around. I can grab this table, picks up that exact table so I can position him in where I need him to go. So with that, our generic block stuff, if you're used to or familiar with this dialog box and we come to one of these blocks here, we know we can edit him to, make sure that his settings are properly on rotating and how he's going to be placed. But we integrated this open file option. So this is a really, really cool button, and it's gonna spread further into the software for sure. But this opens up the source block. So we all know that we can block edit and do something, but when we're trying to make a change specifically universally so that every time that block is now maybe adjusted slightly different, we need to open up that source block. So we could navigate through the land effects, blocks, plan graphics, site amenities, bench folder to find this, but it's just as easy to open up that plan graphics section, go to where you want, select the block that you want to modify, and open that source file just like that. So makes it really, really nice to make whatever changes that you want to in addition to. So we could go ahead and grab a guy and, put him on the bench. Let's just put him on the bench just like that. And we can save that block. And we can make our way back over to our sample plan. And obviously that's not affecting this one. So we could run our redefine block command. We could click on that block and the system's going to update that block to be the latest block definition. Obviously, I don't want that same guy through there, so I wouldn't have done that specifically, but that's what it does. And then obviously running our render tools will color those things so that you can see the color on those blocks. So anyways, that is our generic stuff. How are we looking on generic? Anybody got questions on generic? I'm going to proceed right through.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. So we're going to go over to a plan. And this is a function that, I didn't really even use or utilize a lot because I didn't know how it functioned. But if we are familiar with the detail system, you can create a detail and you can put a template around that content and save it into the system, and it would you could place that as an actual detail. Well, we have this new insert detail viewport tool that allows you to essentially take something from the site that you don't necessarily need to be detail specific, but it is more maybe just site specific for that project that you want to handle. Maybe it's an elevation view that you did off to the side that corresponds to something on the site, or maybe it's just something that you need to enlarge for some reason. We can take this insert detail viewport, give it a title, and you're going to be prompted the same way that you would on creating an actual detail on putting a box around this. So I can use my hotkeys to increase the size at which I want this to show. Maybe I just want this little guy right here. So what this just did is it created this block, and this block is essentially a faux detail. So if I open up my manager, you can see that I have this view, this trash enclosure view created. So if I go over to my tab and I'm ready to place all my details here, I can place this trash enclosure. It's recognized as a detail, and it places a viewport directly as that detail template is concerned. So it's really, really cool that you can create this, place it into the sheet as basically an enlargement. But it doesn't actually stop there. It's really cool is whatever scale you did put to this, the system is going to recognize whatever's happening within this actual viewport, and it's going to create the proper size text for this enclosure area. And now, obviously, you know what, that probably, I'll be honest, I think I had a a viewport, or sorry, a thing here. We're gonna try that one more time. We
It
are
should have
going
still worked even with that, but
with it in there. I'm gonna,
so
yeah, I'm
it
gonna
could have been
see if
because it
that's
was
what it
maybe it's
was.
because it was making. Yeah. Oh, there we go. That sounds better.
Yeah,
If it's making
there
it
it
again.
goes. Yeah,
Huh.
it made it
I'll
again. I
I'll
think it
look
was
into that.
that.
I'll check into that.
Cool. I didn't realize I had a work area around there with the scale. So yeah, it'll put the actual scaled appropriate for within that area. So if we even dimension something, you know, outside of this, you can see that it's generating a new scale proportionally for outside of that that enlarged area. So as we look at that, it's going to show up properly from a legibility standpoint to be consistent across the board. So I thought that's a really cool feature to be able to show really quick section elevations or enlargement areas on a plan for this benefit. So that is our detail viewport. And I'm going to just make a plug to this. I'm not going to show this right yet, unless we have time at the end, but going along with the detail stuff, we did make all of our details metric native. So if you are using a metric unit plan and you open up your Detail Explorer, the actual details listed will be metric versions. If you're working in an architectural sense or an imperial sense, then they will show the imperial version. So that is pretty nice. We're going to jump over to lighting. Lighting got a fun little update up our light manager. So we all know from a typical plan that as we wire a lighting plan, they're more graphical representative of, as I place the wire, it will basically go in arc mode, right? So it'll be big, bendy, unless it's a close thing. But if I come and I jump over to an area, it's nice and bendy. But that might not be what we want. Maybe we want it to follow a path of sorts. So what we integrated for wiring is the ability to change from line to arc mode. So just by pressing L, I can simply draw straight lines as I know I want my path to be. So I can go ahead and, Jared, maybe this is something you can note as well. I just noticed that right click doesn't work for wiring to repeat. I do have to place it, or I have to double click on it every time. I just noticed that.
That's right. Yeah. I think also we
integrated that for irrigation.
Well, I think there's also a command for draw wiring that you can assign to a keyboard command.
Is there?
If you want.
Well,
I think
look at that.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know. So anyways, it's really nice to be able to draw your lines wherever you want them, because maybe you've got this guy here in arc mode to jump over here, representative, to jump over to this guy here. And then maybe I want to switch it over to line, kind of a thing. And then I want to go back to arc mode. On like a graphical representation kind of a thing. So you have this ability now to go between both arc and line. The nice thing is that the calculations are still running from point A to point B, straight line through. So it's not ever giving you incorrect lengths that way. It's still running it in a straight line, but it allows me to, more cleanly go from here to here around the building, kind of a thing. If I'm coming back to the, oops, I accidentally clicked on the IES data file outline. here. We'll go back to the transformer, right? So it makes it really nice to be able to have clean runs where you want that wire length to go instead of archy back to that. So that's a newer feature. So we will keep on going. And if you guys have just as a little statement here on the lighting side, we've obviously got a lot of different wish list items as it grows. It's a newer feature, but I'm excited for this to continually grow. So if you guys are using the lighting functions, please let us know additional things so that we can grow this thing. It's awesome as it is. It'll just get better. So we're going to jump over to planting. Well, we'll jump back to the planting plan. Okay, so for those familiar with the plant manager, we obviously know that adding plants, we have our database of all of our wiki-based plant list. This has an awesome facelift. For props to Forrest and Molly and Amanda and everybody else that participated in this big effort, and Jared can probably attest to the effort that it really took to this. I don't want to undersell it here, but we've integrated a lot of new features in here. As you're adding plants, you now have the ability to toggle between the plant groups. So it matches where you're at on the list here. Instead of accidentally adding a plant to the wrong group, if you go to shrub areas, it will add as a shrub area. If you go to trees, it will add as trees. But not only that, is the tags that are put in place for our plant database filter you to specific things. So if we're going to go ahead and look for a specific plant, you can actually start searching basically any part of the deal, and whether it's a sound like search or specific to how it starts here, it's going to start filtering based on that. And I believe, yeah, it activates so you can use the arrow keys to start scrolling through stuff. If we do that sounds like search, it starts going in a different filtering list, activating stuff. But we have all of these different filters now. And it looks blank, but all you need to do is click into these given areas and you're prompted with a few different options here. And you can see down in this lower list how it starts to filter what that is. So maybe we've got that kind of soil and maybe some this. I can start actually seeing what kind of plants apply to those conditions. And we can see this list now done. You can clear any of those filters, you can add more, and that list is going to start updating accordingly. So very, very, very cool way of actually finding the stuff that you need. Is there anything else you wanted me to touch on this side of things, Jer?
That time I found my mute button. As I went to click it, the little thing popped up and I'm having technical difficulties today. What can I say? No, I think it's, just lots in there. And yeah, that's, it's not going to be pushing in today's update. That one's coming, this year though, in either one of these last couple updates of this year.
Yeah.
So in case someone's
This
like, "Ooh, I want it
look,
right now."
yeah, this specific look.
That
The
specific look.
functions are still there, just ordered a little differently.
And cleaned, yeah, we cleaned it
And
up a
cleaned
little
it up
bit.
a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were able to work on the general query that searches the database. So we were able to simplify those options. So we have just the sounds like search as an option. So if you're like, no, I know it's because these Latin names can be spelled really weird. And so just giving you that control over the sounds like, because it can be very difficult to find the right plant.
Yeah, it's so cool just in the grand scheme of things to be able to find exact things and where it's finding it and what it sounds like is very cool to have that kind of power on that. So it does ease the mind as you're trying to search for stuff for sure. So yeah, I think if anybody has any questions on this kind of stuff or comments on this, definitely let us know. But we are going to move on. Now, we are cruising right through this stuff. I've got some irrigation stuff to show, and then we are going to be at the end of our rope here. The irrigation stuff is a little bit more intense. So you do have a little bit of time, but a reminder to those people, if you got any other questions or comments or suggestions, now is the time. So okay, I almost don't know where to start from an irrigation side of things, but we did a lot of improvements on the irrigation stuff, mainly cleaning up old tools, but making them function a lot smoother, a lot easier. So I think where we're going to start is, well, I'm going to note that we improved our spray symbol library and even the Rotary symbol library. It's kind of was a two-parter project. And so as you guys add pieces of equipment, we're going to go ahead and add something. And actually, slightly before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and show one little feature. Those using irrigation probably know that it is a one-click delete item kind of a thing. We integrated being able to select multiple or select multiple this way kind of a thing and be able to delete mass amounts of items. So obviously use with caution, but it's now not a single item click, say yes, single item click, delete, say yes. So that's pretty nice. So we're going to go ahead and just show that tool, and now we will add a new piece of equipment. So from a Rotary perspective, we have unlocked the ability. Now you're not limited to 2 turf rotaries and 2 shrub. You get to do up to, is it 9, Jer? No, I can't remember. I think it's 9. 9 different symbols.
Sounds right. Yeah, 9.
Let's say 9. And depending on the type of rotary that you pick, all manufacturers are different. Some have, a whole list of nozzles. Some only have one type of nozzle. So we made it available to where you get to choose what kind of symbol you want to assign to this particular item. We did try and squeeze in the existing symbol setup. Those who prefer the way that it looked before, there are families available that basically mimic, if you were to pick a Hunter MP, to mimic the way that they generally functioned. And if you picked the RVANs, they were generally more on the diagrammatic level. So you have those existing options still, but we buffered those out and made them so that if I wanted an RVAN to have an attribute, or the Toro rotary to have an attribute, we can bounce back and forth between which style that you wanted to do. But you have all of these new found symbol styles derived from the existing ones. And then you even have the ability to add your own. In this R50 range here, you can add whatever kind of symbol style you want to use for those, or modify these guys. But it's really nice because you get to add that to the software, and as you place these guys into the system, you'll notice these now have a spray direction. They mimic the rotors that I believe, Jerry, we did those last year, introduced the arc.
I keep telling you, the last 2 years is very blurry.
That's fair. I'm trying to just remember. So I believe we did the rotors last year, that as you place these, there's a specific arc indicator that comes in. And as you print them, they're at a faded back style arc spray indication, little halo guy there on to show you which way to the spray, since the coverage circle does not actually print. So those are all new. It's really, really nice, really clean, the way that it functions. So that is the rotaries. Those are the symbols that you get to pick for that. Sprays are basically the same in the sense that now we have the ability to pick from a few different options here. So we'll just go ahead and add him to the project. And you can see that not only does it tell you which symbol families are already used for a given piece of equipment, but we can go from an arc rotates. So that's essentially like I just showed you for the rotaries, where that little halo guy goes around for the spray indication. The symbol rotates is a more user-defined or diagrammatic, where the whole symbol positions itself, and then our no rotation is basically the way that they were before. So any past or existing projects that use that fixed symbol style, this is where they're at. Nothing has changed. They're just positioned in a no rotation section. So we'll go with one of these new guys, and I will pick this spray type or that symbol type. So now if I go ahead and place this guy, we'll start out with a 10 van. And we will position him right here. The vans don't have an arc indicator. Go with 12/4 here. You can see that as I position him without having to do anything, the spray indication little guy goes into that direction. So we can go ahead and switch him to a half. You can see that it places that half. If I go into a 3/4 and position him, they all have their spray direction appropriately fit there. So makes it really, really nice, really clear, and a nice combination with if you're not showing those coverage arc circles to show where the spray radius is. But again, we also have the old symbols that just are fixed in the way that they look. So that's basically the new symbols as they sit in picking them and placing them. And now we're going to jump into the circuiting and the schematic level of stuff. So what we did, and this might be the second most changed or obvious thing that we changed next to sprays and where they initially were, but we have combined schematic and circuiting together. We felt like they basically go hand in hand as far as functionality of placing in specific areas, zoning things, the way that it calculates stuff. But from a circuiting standpoint, the biggest thing, and I don't know, Jared, I love this tool so much now. It's so awesome. What's so cool about it is it recognizes as I'm maybe going around and I'm zoning stuff, and I wrap my little zone around this little area, I am now prompted with a dialog box that gives me options of what it is. Instead of picking which one I wanted it to recognize first, I get a selection to say, oh, I want it to be shrub sprays that I account for, not the turf sprays. Or if I had some kind of function where I needed to zone things together, I now have that option from a circuiting standpoint. where before it was one type or the other type and nothing else. Aside from that, I get to choose what color that bounding box is going to be around that area. And I can say, okay, and it plops it in there. So not only is it now color coded to kind of identify exactly where it's referring to, I can actually right click and I can just repeat that command now. And it recognizes what that is. We'll say, okay. And I can just keep going, you know, with the way that I zone stuff. So we'll go ahead and throw in a couple zones over here. And, you know, the additional functions, you know, as you're zoning things out, we have this head tally tool. It got a little bit of a facelift to where I can actually click on these heads. I get this nice little dialog box that as I'm clicking, I can see what the accumulative flow is going to be for a specific number of heads, so that I can actually start, you know, circuiting that out, kind of a thing. And those watching this, I know that I shouldn't zone the same zone as centers and sides. So don't judge me. Okay, so we got a few of these here. Let's go ahead and run one more. And not that I want to be this sloppy all the time, but just in general, I now have a lot of control over what it is that I'm actually accounting for this stuff. And I can highlight this zone and I can see exactly what it's encompassing, what it's including. I'm going to do one more zone and show you one other thing. And it is really awesome to understand kind of how it looks at stuff too. Just from like the highlighting perspective, if I click him, you can see that he did not pick up this additional 12 van right here. And that's because his insertion point is outside of that area. So you don't have to include the entire head if you don't want to include something, or just make sure that you include that additional, you know, insertion point for that. Now, those numbers are obviously wrong. So we have our refresh button, and that's going to update. It's going to look through and it's going to update to make sure it includes everything that falls within those areas. So we've got a few zones set. We can actually filter if we want to now by type or by highest to lowest flow to see where we're at, or by zone. Not only that, but we can actually summarize to see how many valves based on zones that we've put around here we have total for each kind of category. So this can be a really good sense about just keeping a snapshot of where we're at zone wise for all of the different types that we've got going on. But not only that, but if show color is off, I have the ability to reposition. I can select one of these and I can reposition, and it reorders and updates all of the different flows and numbers based on those changes. Maybe if I wanted to take these two zones and merge them, I could merge those into one zone, and now I have a total GPM for that one zone type. I can even select a zone and see where he's actually at in a click of a button. Now it zooms me right into it. So I see there's my number one spray. So I can select him. I can actually merge with this turf zone. I can select the zone that I want, and it merges them together. So very, very quickly, I can start manipulating and adjusting and changing stuff to the way that I need it to be. And then when all things are messed up, I can renumber and it will update throughout the plan. So very, very cool. Very, a lot easier to use than it was before. A lot more dynamic there. So with that, obviously, we haven't gotten rid of the uniformity, flow totals, the schedules, all of that's the same. But schematic is very similar to where we have a lot more control in assigning specific schematic areas to projects, not just globally. So when you start a project, this is going to be blank, but it will, when you say new, it's going to give you the option to pick from your list that you have in your preference set, or you can add your own on the fly that's dedicated for this specific project. Give it a note, these things, and now you can just sort of move along with that kind of a deal here. So also circuiting does recognize schematic now, so that's cool. I'm going to pause for just a sec. Jared, do we want to handle any questions? Are we good?
We do have a couple of questions that popped up. I didn't notice in the chat window there. So let's see, flow limit option with the velocity speed for the pipes up to 2 decimal places.
Flow limit options.
Sorry, I had a coughing fit there. I was trying to read that. I'm not sure exactly what Asif is after there. If you have a thought on that.
Let's see. I don't quite know. Maybe we can handle those in a tech support ticket with him after.
That's always
a call.
As a general rule, always though, with any of those sort of wish list requests, just like I mentioned in that webinar last week, if anyone attended, we get a lot of wish list requests that are basically a single sentence and or a question. And we love getting a DWG. So please, please, please always just send us an example of what it is you're after. And it's just really going to help us, just fully understand exactly what you're after. So, whether you're, manually, making a change to something that Land Effects did, just say, I want it to look like this. That's very clear. We understand that hands down. That always just really, really helps.
Yep. 100%. We'll, Asif, we'll definitely reach out to you afterwards, and maybe we can do a screen share or a phone call. Love to chat with you a little bit about some of your questions. So I think I'm going to close really quick with one last deal that I don't know. Are we pushing the irrigation schedule thing, Jared, or is this just this year will be released?
Well, it's probably going to go this in December. I just want to push it out. So, yeah, you're
Okay.
welcome to show it. I know some of these people here would love to see the new irrigation schedule, right?
The irrigation schedule, and we're doing this across the board for schedules in general, and we've been doing a lot of back-end prep for this, but we're going to show you the new dialog box here. Those of you who are familiar with how this runs, we usually have a drawing style, a table style, and then the spreadsheet. You also know that before it could not include XREFs for irrigation schedules. So we are now including the ability to run a full schedule from an XREF. It's not going to be a by POC or any kind of other information that needs performance-wise. That has to still be done in the actual working drawing of your irrigation design. But if you're trying to get an entire schedule, it can look through the XREF now. But more importantly, the table option. So we are only doing table options, but it's going to either be, yes, I want the table option, or no, I don't want those grid lines to show up. So this guy is going to now be the determining factor. as it pertains to whether you want it to match that drawing style or you want it to match the table style there. The drip, we've kind of wrapped the area and length quantity options in a nice little pop out there. And same thing with the equipment and pipe to be able to list that by size and include the water meter. We did that so that we could start lining up the columns where all of the functions or things looked at the same thing. We wanted to get those nice and cleaned up there. So it's really nice, and it remembers your last option that you picked there. So we say, okay, let's see what this guy looks like. And I probably should update the other schedule just so we can have a hands down apples to apples comparison here. So I'm gonna run a schedule real quick and regenerate this one, because I do want to show this. All right, so you can see here a couple of the differences. We obviously have some text shifting, and I know that was a concern to a few people. So we were able to address all of that to be able to center the symbols directly in the descriptions across the board down there. But even better, just from like a description wrapping standpoint, but the actual hatch patterns fill the boxes a little bit more cleanly there, and allow that stuff to wrap. So just really, really nice. The table style looks exactly the same, just plotting lines. So so yeah, that's your option there. We have a couple minutes. I want to just ask any other last minute questions while we go back over here. I'm going to show you our cool new ref note call out stuff.
Also, if anyone had a question about when is that dimension problem with the detail viewport going to be fixed, I just fixed it.
Look at that. Even got one more thing to put on that list.
We did a couple questions popped in here. So Steve asked if the new irrigation schedule will respect that modified column width. Absolutely, it will. So yeah, that somewhat secret setting still applies. I think, wasn't there some talk of putting that into the dialog box so it's not a secret setting?
I believe so. I think we were wondering where it would actually go and what it would be.
Yeah, there's the couple. Yeah, I think the reason why it didn't make it in this one. So in case anyone's curious, there's a couple of still remaining points to ponder for this dialog box. The other one was the in reference note schedule, it has an extra lines setting, and it'll just put that many extra blank lines after each item. And so we wanted to add that to both planting and irrigation schedules. So that's going to need to go in the dialog box. And then, some sort of better control the column widths.
Yeah, but you can see I just did it right there. I set
Yeah.
it and it makes that wider so it doesn't wrap so thick.
And then Mark asked how to submit wish list items. And you can honestly, Mark, you can do it kind of any way you wish. I would just say, as for our preference, absolutely our preference would be to submit a tech support ticket and include a DWG file that has an example. So that would be absolutely our preference. But depending on it, some people literally just when they're on the phone with us, or they just email it into us. But as for the our preference, because we deal with a lot. We deal with people who contact us over Facebook, believe it or not. So we're constantly dealing with all these different methods of communication. But we don't kind of say, oh, this is the only official wish list path. I mean, it can come up in a lot of different ways. But the main thing is to just please include a some sort of kind of a mock-up, an actual DWG file of what it is you're after. But of course, if it, if you say, oh, I want this dialog box to act differently. How do I do that in AutoCAD? Exactly. In that case, you could draw it on a napkin for all I care and take a picture of that napkin. We literally do that ourselves. I mean, so like, we don't do that with, when Jake has an idea, sometimes, you'll be pretty good on it. Like, I know Amanda loves to do those napkin
Yeah,
sketches,
yeah.
like literally on a napkin.
I try to Photoshop them.
Yeah, you'll be in Photoshop. Exactly. That just always helps because, right, there's no miscommunication,
Yep.
so that's good. But a lot of times though, if you do just send us a 1-sentence email, we'll just reply and ask for a little clarification, and then get that information from you. So
Yeah. Either
yeah,
way,
just
we get it
anything.
down to what we need. So
Yeah, I think the main thing we recommend is, maintain a list, whether it's on a notepad or, electronically, of your kind of land effects items. And when you get a chance, send that email or tech support ticket to us, fleshed out with what you are really looking for us to add.
yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to close with this. We slightly showed it last week's webinar, but the new stadium call out option with the fancy shadows and everything else like that is live and looks just beautiful. But in addition to that one, we have integrated the circle, which was only a circle with a fill. We now have the ability to have a drop shadow on it. So it is also very cool and looks really, really nice. So definitely give those guys a shot and play with those. I think our default is going to be our stadium with screen and shadow, but all of them look really, really nice and clean. So props to Jaron figuring out that math.
Props to you on you helped on both of those tremendously as well. So that was, but yeah, the math was not fun.
They look good. Well, I think we're over our time a little bit. Thank you guys a ton. But if you have any other questions, definitely feel free to reach out to us.
Absolutely, please do. Everyone, yeah, keep your hands warm. Oh my gosh, have some fantastic holidays. Eat too much, drink too much. That's what it's all about. And we will see you at our new webinars next year. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.